because I tell my son, by the way, to read, and I don't want to force him to read, but it's important. And anybody that's a parent out there knows that it's a losing battle against screen time. So if you can really get them to dive into books and understand that the world of reading is a joyous, imaginative, informative place, the world will be a better place. Yo, welcome to another episode of In a Minute with Evan Lovett, coming to you live from the I Am Studios in the heart of Los Angeles. Boom. And I'm solo today, no production team, because I didn't even tell anybody that I was doing this podcast today. All right. I got inspired last night as I was reading before bed, as I like to do. I mean, that is the core of how LA in a Minute started, how In a Minute with Evan Lovett started. And I'm like, you know what? It's been a long while since I've talked about my books and about books in Los Angeles, books that inspired me. So I wanted to put together a summer Los Angeles reading list. LA summer, let's call it the just your LA reading list for the summer. Who knows? No formal title. We're going to work that out. And before we get into this, I got to give a special shout out to my sponsor, Arto Brick. My man Armin doing a fantastic job down in Gardena, has a factory where he manufactures brick, tile, and not just any brick and tile. We're talking about historic renovation, rehabilitation of LA landmarks, Olvera Street, Mariachi Plaza, Union Station. He goes up to Ojai, does some stuff for Vallarta. Really cool, really high quality. And honestly, I was at my friend's house this week. This is a true story. I was at my friend's house this weekend for a pool party, and they're doing a little construction on an ADU, and I see an Arto Brick box. So I was like, Arto Brick. And they're like, look, and they're very style oriented, very good, tasteful family. And they were like, yeah, Arto Brick's the best, blah, blah. I texted Armin a picture of it. And he was like, where you at, blah, blah, blah. But Arto Brick, great sponsor. And, you know, it's appropriate because brick by brick is how I built my knowledge of Los Angeles and continue to build my knowledge of Los Angeles. So I really do have a summer reading list. All these books can't be on one. Well, I won't say can't, but there's a lot of books for one summer reading list. But I'm going to try to break it down a little bit. I don't even want to say categories per se, but I'm definitely going to try to spoon feed some books that really moved me, resonated with me, and inspired me. So hopefully you get out there, read, go to the library, Los Angeles Public Library, shout out Angel City Press. They have merged to form the first publicly owned publisher. And Angel City Press does some of my, I wish they did my book, 100 Stories of LA in a Minute, by the way. But Angel City Press does some of the best and most important publishing of Los Angeles oriented books. So kudos to them and LA Public Library. But go get your books at the library, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. There's a bookstore down the street from the studio. So read, because that's how I learn. And you know what? If you listen to it, or if you do Kindle or do audiobooks, that's great too. But without further ado, I want to get into this. Again, no rhyme, no reason, just hopefully inspiring you to read, because I tell my son, by the way, to read, and I don't want to force him to read, but it's important. And anybody that's a parent out there knows that it's a losing battle against screen time. So if you can really get them to dive into books and understand that the world of reading is a joyous, imaginative, informative place, the world will be a better place. So I'm going to start with something like on the lighter side, let's say, because this is actually how I started LA in a Minute. I owe a huge debt of gratitude to George Geary, the chef turned author, because this book right here, Made in California, was the book that basically formed the core of what LA in a Minute does. When I first started, it's a tour of all the restaurants, fast food, and chains that started in California, but the majority of them started in Los Angeles. And I didn't really realize that. One day early when LA in a Minute was going, I was just talking about brief history of the river, still talking about news with the LA Times newspaper. I was reading like McDonald's, Taco Bell, Fat Burger, In-N-Out, Hot Dog on a Stick, you name it. All these famous chains came from LA, and George Geary does a fantastic job telling those histories, those origin stories, and that really sent LA in a minute down a path of exploring Los Angeles through its food and through these chains that are so important. It's all tied into car culture. So Made in California, George Geary. And in fact, it was so good, he made a volume 2. Excellent things that weren't included, more recent chains like volume 2. You got things like Wetzel's Pretzels, Rubio's, Johnny Rockets, Numero Uno. So totally fantastic. These are published by Prospect Park Books. Get both of them because George Geary really knows how to do a nice, concise origin story. As I'm telling you, this was like LA in a minute caliber, and I owe him a debt of gratitude, and I've told him that. George Geary also has 2 other books that I've read and loved. LA's Legendary Restaurants. These aren't so much chains. Correct. These aren't so much chains. And in fact, what he does in this, like I said, he was a chef. He does a famous recipe from each as well. Musso and Frank, Formosa Cafe, Shay J, Dan Tana's really good book. I believe this one came out before the other 2. This is Santa Monica Press, another really good publisher. Jeff, if you're listening, come on, let's get my book published. Reach out to Santa Monica Press. Tell me you want the LA in a Minute book. But no, seriously, George Geary, another great one right there. LA's Legendary Restaurants. Not to be confused with Geary's 4th book. And this one's fun too. LA's Landmark Restaurants. And I'm telling you, Geary, we owe a debt of gratitude because he just does such a fantastic job digging out these classic places, talking about why they're important. Del Rey, Casa Vega, the Derby, El Cholo. So we're going to start there. That's the beginning foundational. And sorry about my mic, by the way. Again, like I said, I don't have a production team today. This thing's flopping all over the place. They're usually here handling biz for me, but we're flying solo. So that's what we got. So now, these next 2, this is going to close out the food section for you, but these 2 are really, really, really important to me, even prior to LA in a Minute, just for my life and understanding Los Angeles through food, which, by the way, I was a culinary guy, not a cook. I mean, I cook. I'm a home cook. I love it. I still think I'm a pretty good cook. But I love learning about food and the facts and the history and the legacy. And this book by Roy Choi, LA Sun, look at all these little tags and Post-its I put in there. This came out in 2013, right before my son was born. And I actually have a picture of my son with LA Sun in his crib. But more importantly, we all know Roy Choi's impact. Kogi, food truck, modern food truck craze started with him, through him. But he's also a true LA guy. And he talks about his upbringing and the impact that food obviously had on him, but through his family and through his anecdotes on Los Angeles. And this is like an autobiographical food tale with a lot of good recipes in here that are fairly easy to make. Roy Choi, I'm not saying you're going to be out there making the Kogi tacos, but he does stuff like his fried rice that you could just whip up with some leftovers, but he tells you the context and his personal history of it. This is a really, really good book. So kudos, Roy Choi. Pick this up, LA Sun. He also has another one, The Choi of Cooking, that just came out. That's in my house because I've not read that yet, and that is on my summer reading list, but LA Sun. Now, this for a long, long time was my favorite book in and about Los Angeles, and it's a food book, and it's a food review book. Counterintelligence, Jonathan Gold, who put this out, LA Weekly Books. I think this came out in 2000 or 2001, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check. 2000. Collection of Jonathan Gold's reviews. This is why this is special. It's not like, look, I'm not going to tell you. If you're listening to this, you know Jonathan Gold. His reviews are not reviews. They are cultural expositions of Los Angeles neighborhoods, restaurants, cultures, histories. And it's really cool to see a snapshot in time, 25 years ago, before what was known as the quote-unquote LA dining renaissance, what LA eating was like. And at this time, people used to scoff at LA's dining scene because we didn't have the white tablecloth restaurants. We didn't have the Michelin. We weren't even in the Michelin guide. Not even that matters nowadays. But the fact is, Jonathan Gold, who started his career as a music writer, opera, hip hop, LA Weekly, started to eat at every restaurant up and down Pico. And that's how his love affair started. He just understood the culture and was able to tie it in and contextualize it better than anybody that I've ever read in Los Angeles. And this book, Counterintelligence, look, I'm not even sure more than half these restaurants are still around, but these neighborhoods are around. It's a snapshot of these neighborhoods and cultures and the food evolution in Los Angeles. Counterintelligence, Jonathan Gold. Cannot recommend that any higher than I can. Great, great, great book. Now, we move on to another author who has completely inspired me. Everything he writes, I got to stop what I'm doing and read it cover to cover, word by word, over and over. Talking about DJ Waldy. I got this book, Holy Land, a while ago. It's published by Norton. Nice short little book with so many chapters, and it's a suburban memoir. DJ Waldy was born and raised in Lakewood, most important community / neighborhood in not just Los Angeles, but the world. It was the first planned community that worked. Levittown in the Northeast was the first planned community, but they didn't do the parks, the schools, the mall. And look, we talk about tract housing maybe in a pejorative sense now, and that's part of it. But what happened was basically overnight, Lakewood turned from 0 to like 17,000 homes and an 80,000 strong community. And DJ Waldy was there from the beginning, and he's legally blind. And the reason why that's important is because the observations he makes are so astute and so insightful, not just about Lakewood, but tying it into a grander Los Angeles perspective from how much you need a car. And because he can't drive, he has to walk everywhere. He has that unique perspective. So it talks about the history of Lakewood, but more importantly, just the evolution of Los Angeles that he witnessed, his evolution throughout. This is great. This is what I would call a foundational book of understanding Los Angeles, at least for me. And this next one, Becoming Los Angeles, Angel City Press, boom. My gosh. Short chapters, easy to read, but every single chapter is an anecdote. He gets you to think about the sidewalks, the lamp posts, just the little details in Los Angeles. And somehow DJ Waldy is able to make it apply on a grander scale, dingbat architecture, like just every little thing, the cars. And again, I can't recommend DJ Waldy high enough. It's something about his background that gives him the ability to write and just capture the soul of what really is Los Angeles through his incredible observances and just great writing. It's simple writing, but great writing. And again, I bring up the short chapters thing because for those of you with short attention spans, it's not necessarily a narrative where you're like, oh man, I got to read this all the way through. It's just each chapter is almost like independent and they're all just these amazing observations. So Becoming Los Angeles, get this. I don't want to make a quote unquote favorite, but if you pin me to it, I have bought this book for my closest friends multiple times. And this is a book that I would probably say, if you put my feet to the fire, is my favorite book on Los Angeles. Becoming Los Angeles, DJ Waldy, thank you for doing this. And thank you for being I call him the prose laureate of Los Angeles, poet laureate. Okay, but great book, Becoming Los Angeles, Angel City represent. Can't say it high enough. Okay, I want to move on to this section right here. I use the word foundational. These are foundational books that are almost, look, if you're like me, you like reading to learn and to study almost. So I don't know if this is for everybody. Again, I am a nonfiction guy. And by the way, I'm just checking my equipment because again, no producers in the house. I'm an information guy. So that all these books, I think every one of these books I have today is nonfiction. So learning is at the core of what I do because I'm just eternally curious and just passionate about the city. And I think this next section right here is what I would call maybe, I don't want to say the most educational, but they almost read like textbooks, but they're not, because I don't like a book that reads like a textbook, but these are on that border because there's so much information, but they're well written, and I'm not gonna say easy to read, but fun reads. Classic Mike Davis, City of Quartz. Soc 1 at UCLA. I didn't know what sociology was. I didn't even care, if you want to know the truth. At the time, again, young kid, I wanted to party, have some fun at UCLA. It happened to be a sociology of Los Angeles class. So it had my heart right away. The defining text, Mike Davis, City of Quartz. This is an unflinching, dare I say, negative look at Los Angeles. Not negative, some people say realistic, but Davis talks about the politics, what's sizzling underneath as far as what caused the riots, housing inequity, latent racism throughout, latent and blatant racism. Davis reconstructs LA's shadow history and dissects its ethereal economy. Look, it's a little heavy on the texty, but it's an important book. And honestly, here, published by Verso Books, but one of the classic LA books. And frankly, the first Los Angeles book I ever read in the context of like, oh, I'm learning about Los Angeles. So City of Quartz, this is a must own. I don't know if you're going to read this cover to cover. I'm going to be honest with you, but you must own it because it is a foundational book about LA. This, one of my favorite books, Rainer Banham, Los Angeles, The Architecture of Four Ecologies. This is funny because I fully expected this to read like a textbook. And it doesn't. Somehow Rainer Banham, I forget where he's from. He's not from Los Angeles. I believe he's international and immigrated to LA. But this came out in the 70s, published by University of California Press. And what Banham does, 1971, yeah, he was one of the first people to actually promote Los Angeles in the sense of like, wait, freeways can be beautiful. It's not just about the beaches, like the architecture of the four ecologies, surfurbia, the foothills, the plains of Id, and Autopia, where you got to put this in the context of the 70s. LA was a laughing stock, no culture, no history, and that lasted for a long time. But Rainer Banham was one of the first to say, no. This is the city of the future. This is a model of the future, and here's why it works. And again, pretty short book. Reads fast. You're going to look at this and be like, this is a textbook. No, this reads fast and it's entertaining and it's going to make you love LA. Architecture of Four Ecologies, Rainer Banham. Awesome book. Next, this is a classic. This is going to be on everybody's list that you see if you ever see a list of LA books, because it is important. Carey McWilliams, Southern California, an Island on the Land. This was one of the first, 1946. This was one of the first expositions of Los Angeles, exploring its cultures, but even in the context of like the 1920s through 1950s, talking about indigenous folks and going down that road of history when people really weren't talking about that, going through Helen Hunt Jackson and Ramona, Amy Semple McPherson, the religious revival in Los Angeles. And of course, there's a little bit of boosterism, like sort of selling Los Angeles as this great world city, which it obviously did become. Insights into the origins of Hollywood and the flowering of international style architecture in Los Angeles. Fascinating material on the region, its galaxy personalities. That doesn't even do it justice. It's a pretty decent sized book, but I don't know if you can see all these dog ears. And yes, I'm a dog ear book person. I know that offends some heavy readers, but I like to go back. I should use the Post-its. I don't. I like to go back and see and revisit passages. This is really incredible because it's packed with information. And I think for a book written in the 40s, it's almost ahead of its time in the fact that McWilliams really almost speaks from a modern perspective in the way he's talking about the Mexican immigrants and indigenous people and African-American population and impact in Los Angeles. But it's not just about that. It's about the growth and development of Los Angeles. Really, really awesome. Southern California, an Island on the Land. Carey McWilliams. These next two I'm going to put together. This is Remy Nadeau. His father or grandfather was one of the original forefathers of Los Angeles. Maine, I think he had a shipping route. He was one of the first to have like a wagon route to ship stuff up from the mines down to LA. And like he developed buildings and blocks. I wish I knew Nadeau's the story more, but in that vein, what Remy Nadeau did was publish these books. The story of Southern California's first boom, city makers. I haven't seen this a lot. I think it's out of print, but man, we're talking Pio Pico, Tiburcio Vasquez, John Downey. There it was, the Cerro Gordo mines. That's what it was. Phineas Banning, the people that built Los Angeles. Like, this is a really, really good exposition of the forefathers of LA. I learned a ton, and every one of these almost inspired an episode because, again, you hear the names and you're like, oh, I knew that name, but I didn't know why a city was named after, talking about the Bella Union Hotel. Really, really good book covering the development of LA. I love this book. And his other one, Los Angeles, From Mission to Modern City. He traces the history. Again, different and more in depth in the context of the fact that this was written 1960. And again, he covers it going back to the indigenous, to modern city in 1960, calling LA modern city. But again, just the people, the impact those people had on the development and why Los Angeles became what it was. But written in 1960, I just love that contemporaneous perspective. So if you can find this, again, I think this is out of print too. Los Angeles, From Mission to Modern City. Read this. Awesome. Next up, this one's dope. This was kind of hard to find. You could buy originals for a really expensive amount. This one wasn't as pricey. Harris Newmark, 60 years in Southern California, 1853 to 1913. Dude, this is almost written like a diary of a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, how LA was from a person who was living there from the time Los Angeles became a city in 1851. Newmark came in 1853 and tells you about the day-to-day life. First person, Newmark, by the way, ended up being one of the most important people in LA. It's one of the first Jewish people in LA, which in itself is kind of interesting. But he talks about the development in real time as he saw it. And man, I was infatuated with this era in Los Angeles history, and seeing it first person in a non-historical perspective, in a present day at the time perspective, is really, really cool. Harris Newmark, 60 years in Southern California. Highly, highly, highly recommended. Now, this is a book I've talked about. I used to talk about it all the time. And this, I think, was highly regarded, award-winning. Norton is the publisher. This is John MacFaragher's Eternity Street. Violence and Justice in Frontier Los Angeles. Now, when I read this, and I didn't read these in this order, by the way, I had no idea that Los Angeles was the Wild West. I always thought it was Tombstone in Arizona. No. Los Angeles, Calle de los Negros, murder per day, more murders than any city in the United States. The Chinese massacre, the hangings, the violence that built Frontier Los Angeles between the Californios, the indigenous people, the Americans. Like, the LA was, violent and dangerous. And I never realized this. And this is a historical look back with so much information. And I was amazed by his research and the documentation he was able to provide. I mean, Californios, Mexicos, Americans, men ambled down dusty streets armed with Colt revolvers and Bowie knives. Woo! This is a great, great read. This should be on your summer reading list. I read it, but you should maybe even, put it on yours. I should even read it again. Eternity Street, John MacFaragher, award-winning by me. Read that. Another great one that you're going to see on Best of LA lists, published by, who puts this out? Extra Libris? I can't even find it. I'm sorry. But the fact is, this is Mirage Factory by Gary Christ. This was cool. This kind of read like a movie a little bit. Man, this guy talks about how Los Angeles was built on illusions, on mirages, imagination. This was the first time I heard about Amy Semple McPherson and the religious revival, and how Los Angeles was one of the most religious-oriented places in the world. And that really drove how LA developed in the 1920s. By the way, published by Penguin Random House. There it is. Mirage Factory. But incredible. He talks about, oh my God, the birth of the Perfect example, the illusion of movies. But movies is what built LA. So it's how LA is built on these illusions. Water and Mulholland. We didn't have any water. It was an illusion, but they made it happen. And the common thread, the theme throughout this book is how LA was based. You could say illusion, but it was not mirages. It was visions. That's at least my take. A little more than a century ago, southern coast of California was destined to remain a scrappy, bone-dry farmland. Then, as if overnight, one of the world's iconic cities emerged. Incredible read, fun read. Put it on your summer reading list. Gary Chris, Mirage Factory. This is one that you should keep in your car. And I always tell my wife, I don't. I keep it on my nightstand. I want to move it in my car. But I'll tell you what it is. It's the Architectural Guidebook to Los Angeles. This is, I think, the 6th edition. Angel City Press, thank you for pushing this. What this is beautiful, by the way. And David Gebhardt and Robert Winter, this has been going on for, I want to say decades, more than decades, because Gebhardt wrote the original. I think Winter's picking up where he left off. But they go neighborhood to neighborhood, whether it's Los Feliz, North Hills, Pacoima, Southgate. There's architectural history everywhere in Los Angeles. And buildings that might be a friggin' 7-Eleven, maybe not a 7-Eleven, but you know how LA has just turned so many different lives. Wow. A different life almost at every turn. They tell you whatever neighborhood you're in, these are the important buildings, why they're important, how they were developed, streamline modern, my favorite architectural style, churches, automobile club building, high schools, but important architectural landmarks in LA that we don't celebrate enough. And the reason I say keep it in the car, keep it in your car, because if you're just in a random neighborhood, you could pull up that neighborhood. There's going to be dozens of buildings that you're like, oh shit, I had no idea that grocery store building was actually built in 1921 as a city hall. And I'm making that up, but that's what it is. So keep this in your car. Architectural Guidebook to Los Angeles. Another really fun book here. This is a fun and unique written book published by Modern Library, edited by David Kipen. It's called Dear Los Angeles. This one is mind-blowing and very unique. The city in Diaries and Letters from 1542 to 2018. And it's told chronologically, not in the sense that it starts in 1542, but day by day, January 1st, January 2nd. These are letters or writings that were published in those specific days. And it's not really weaved together like a narrative. And that's what kind of makes it cool, because on the same page, you're going to have 1937, 1891, 1847, May 5th. We're talking people like Helen Hunt Jackson, James Joyce, Edward West, and Henry Dalton, Los Angeles Times, Edgar Rice Burroughs. Like the names that come up, it's people who've written about Los Angeles. William Faulkner, Don Juan Bautista Bandini, like some LA legends and even non-LA people. Will Rogers, of course. Will Rogers, LA person, just want to make it clear. William Banning, but it's observances in LA that were written first person, put together in a day-by-day standpoint that forms a really important history, because again, that first person narrative from that specific year really makes it important and special, and just a fun read. Again, quick. You don't need to read it day by day, or maybe you do. You leave it by your bed and go like, today's June 23rd. What letters, important letters were written on June 23rd? Really cool. Dear Los Angeles. Next to one of my favorite authors in LA. This guy's coming up hard. His writing is so good, so fun, so well researched. Talking about Paul Haddad, also Santa Monica Press. Does great freaking work. I'm going to put both of these together. Freewaytopia and Inventing Paradise. Freewaytopia kind of changed my life. It's tough to say that, but the reverence in which he holds the freeways and their importance in Los Angeles, it really makes me be like, I love the freeway. I love driving. I'm not shy about that. I know there's a lot of mass transit people out there. I'm all for it, but there's something special about contextualizing Los Angeles through the foundation of freeways. How freeways shaped Los Angeles. So important, because they really did, like them or not. Freeways are the reason why Los Angeles developed the way it did. Kudos, Paul Haddad, for getting that done. Inventing Paradise, the power brokers who created the dream of Los Angeles. I read this last year. It's possibly my book of the year. Super friggin' fun. Along the lines of Mirage Factory-ish in the sense of like, it tracks through main people and actions, how LA developed, but he just gets into it so hardcore. Again, we're talking about Harrison, Gray, Otis, Huntington, Mulholland. Like, this is how LA became Los Angeles. Inventing Paradise. Again, in the vein of Mirage Factory, picking up where Carey McWilliams left off. Really good book. And Haddad's writing just flows. I got to say that. He's a really, really good writer. Because it's one of those things where you're like, oh, I'm tired. I got to go to bed. But hold on, a couple more pages. And you end up reading like 50 more pages. Great job, Paul Haddad. Thank you for doing what you do because I appreciate you big time. Checking my production. Hold on. Self-produced, add producer to my resume. Just kidding. These next 4, these are quote-unquote coffee table books. They don't need to be because I read them. And they're fun and they're beautiful. But I'm going to kind of put them in a category for you together. This one just came out. This is beautiful. Angel City Press in its new iteration. I love this book. Love. Right now, my favorite book of 2025. Los Angeles Before Freeways. Arnold Hyland and Nathan Marsack. Nathan Marsack did that Bunker Hill book, which is great. And they talk about, again, this is mostly Bunker Hill downtown, but the Los Angeles that was destroyed for the freeways and for the future. And most importantly, these pictures are freaking beautiful. It's not going to do it justice till you see it, but it's all these bygone buildings. And I was telling my wife every single night, it's like, babe, you got to look at this. She's an interior designer. She loves architecture. You got to look at this. You got to look at this. And it's amazing to say, I celebrate LA, but LA has destroyed so much of its beautiful history and architecture in these buildings. And the images that Arnold Hyland, who originally published this in some woebegone publishing house back in, I don't know, the original year, was able to capture these photos in these buildings that really help us be like, wow, I like downtown now, but why couldn't we have just salvaged some of this? I mean, again, and thank you, Nathan Marisak, for bringing it back. Highlands was presented in 1981 by Dawson's Bookshop. Kind of lost along the way. So thank you, Angel City Press and Nathan Marsack for bringing this back because it's beautiful, it's informative, and something that I suggest. These pictures have so much detail because they were taken by a regular human and he took great pictures. But I love seeing the storefronts and the people, the not many people in the pictures, but you really get a sense of time and place. So I used a magnifying glass to go back and look at these stores that you can't even find historical records of. And it just gives you a really good sense of, look at this, just on the cover, California Motor Cultivator, Art Seating Company, lawnmowers sharpened right in front of City Hall. Like, amazing. Get this. This is my favorite book of the year so far. Sunset Magazine pictorial, Los Angeles, A Portrait of an Extraordinary City. This thing was published by the Times Mirror Press, actually. So I guess it was like a dual production. I'm trying to find a year. 1968. And this thing was beautiful. Imagine just like the consummate coffee table book about Los Angeles from 1968 with all the beautiful photos from the beaches to the city to the air, the new technology to these suburbs that were just developing with a little bit of text and context. This is a beautiful book. 1968. If you can find this, get this. Highly recommended and will be a conversation starter on your coffee table. Next, another beautiful Angel City Press edition, Art Deco, everybody's favorite architecture or least favorite, depending on where you're coming from. Robert Landau, the essay by Alan Hess. If you like Art Deco and if you're here in LA, you probably have thoughts on it. Get this because the pictures are beautiful, whether it's the Eastern Columbia building, the Orpheum, the Coliseum, which I never even thought of in the context of Art Deco because I'm not an architecture guy. Maybe that's ignorant, but I'm not. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And this should be on your coffee table this year because, again, another 2025 book. This next one by Tash and Toshin, the classic Los Angeles Portrait of a City. This is a big mamma jamma. Not to be confused with Los Angeles Portrait of an Extraordinary City from 1968. This one you've seen because this is everywhere. All the fancy stores and honestly in pictorials, people that have books and coffee table books regarding Los Angeles, they have this because it's like the consummate one. Kevin Starr, for Christ's sake, Jim Hyman, two legendary Los Angeles, California, worldwide impactful documentarians. And this is beautiful. It's huge. The pictures are unique. It's not the stuff that you've seen. Everything from like Bugsy Siegel's murder to, of course, the beaches to early City Hall to early freeways. I mean, this is a historical documentation of Los Angeles, and it is beautiful, and it is big, and it is a showstopper. It's expensive. It's expensive. I think this is what, a couple $100 maybe. It's expensive because it's huge. It's massive, and it's worth it because you're going to spend a lot of time with this. Almost 600 pages, big pages, and you put this anywhere, and you will have conversation and have people entertain. It's an important book, and you've seen it a lot. Los Angeles, Portrait of a City. Get it as a gift or ask for it as a gift because it's awesome. Next up, my one fiction entrant into my favorite LA books, Michael Connelly. He has 30 plus novels. He's been on the podcast. Is one of my favorite interviews ever. He has such a great origin story. Get any of them, get all of them. He has another one coming out this year that's going to take place in Catalina, Bosch, Ballard, The Lincoln Lawyer. That's all Michael Connelly. But I'm going to single out this one, his nonfiction piece of work, Crime Beat. Part of his early career was being a crime writer for LA Times. So these are those articles, but the context around it and why he wrote, and it sort of plants the seeds for all those beautiful and wonderful best-selling novels that he did. And it's really interesting because this is his core and what made Michael Connelly Michael Connelly. And again, he did it in LA, and that's why all of his novels are such beautiful explorations of Los Angeles and turned into TV shows. But it all started here when he was a crime writer, started in Florida, but he really developed here as a crime writer in Los Angeles, and Crime Beat is about that and recaps that. And it's fun. It's a good book. And it also giving you a sense of time and place with crime in Los Angeles in the 80s and 90s when he was on the Crime Beat. So that's dope. That closes out the books that I have read. Now, as for me, this is my summer reading list. I have not read these yet, but these are all ordered and on my nightstand and ready to go. The first one I started is The Big Goodbye, Chinatown in the Last Years of Hollywood by Flatiron Books, Sam Wasson. Wasson. I didn't know what to expect. I'm not a huge movie guy, but Chinatown is one of the most incredible and important movies ever. It happens to be an LA movie about the water wars, automatic intrigue. This is the story of how that script, which is renowned as like the best script. I'm not a script writer, but renowned as one of the best scripts of all time, came together. But in the context of Robert Evans, Jack Nicholson, Roman Polanski, how they put that together, but in the backdrop of the Sharon Tate murders and Los Angeles in the late 60s and early 70s. And it weaves this narrative that is about the movie, but it isn't about the movie because it's mostly about Los Angeles. I'm not done with it, but this is compelling, and I'm pounding this thing every night. I'm talking like 50 pages of pop. Just started it more than halfway through. So The Big Goodbye is about to be finished. I'm about to say the big goodbye to The Big Goodbye because that thing is awesome. Now, these next three, I haven't so much as opened yet. I know this one is super famous, and I'm going to botch the pronunciation. I've seen the name 100 times, and I apologize. It's either John Fante, and I probably still got it wrong. Ask the Dust. Apparently, the story behind this is that it's one of the best LA books as far as capturing the dialogue and how 1930s Los Angeles really was, how the people really were. And if I'm not mistaken, this is actually a fictional novel, and it's short, and it got lost to the dustbin of history until Charles Bukowski, that other famous LA writer, rediscovered it and started putting it on his list of most influential. So I haven't so much as opened this yet until right now. And I'm thankful and I'm excited because, again, I don't get in much, Day of the Locust, all that. I'm sorry, I haven't read a lot of fiction, but we're about to do this with Ask the Dust. So wish me luck on that. Next up, Hidden History of Transportation Los Angeles, Charles P. Hobbs. This was recommended on Amazon as books you might like. Hidden History Transportation of LA. Come on, you're speaking to me here. Planes, trains, automobiles, but also buses, helicopters, and people movers. Talking about the Diamond Lane, the bus pool, the elevated California Cycleway. Can't wait to read this. This is published by the History Press. So you know I'm going to like that one. And last but not least, appropriate enough because it's actually the first LA in a Minute episode I ever did that wasn't me with a newspaper, the Los Angeles River. If you don't know the story, I started LA in a Minute by literally holding up a newspaper, reading or summarizing two or three LA stories in 1 minute. But the news isn't exciting every day. But I'll tell you what, every day I was walking the office, now the studio, I walk across the LA River. And one day I'm like, this thing isn't a river. They didn't even call it a river when I was growing up. It was the Wash. It's a concrete channel that's empty 9 months a year. So I sat down on site and I was like, let's find out what the deal is with the LA River. And I said, brief history of the LA River. That thing got some traction and LA in a Minute was off and running because the LA River is so important to Los Angeles, even though it really is a concrete channel now. But this book, The Los Angeles River by Blake Gumprecht, it's life, death, and possible rebirth. This sounds awesome. Johns Hopkins Press. There you go. Haven't dove into it. Looks a little texty. Written in 1999. So this is going to be an important context because the LA River is undergoing a constant rebirth. And let's see what happens. So I'm excited to read that. That's my summer list. And hopefully this provided you a good summer reading list. If you need any of the titles, the authors, hit me up on the DMs on Instagram. Send me an email, evan@lainaminute.com. I will get you this list. Honestly, read. Have your kids read. Have your partner read. Buy Becoming Los Angeles by DJ Waldy. Shout out Paul Haddad. Shout out to all these brilliant, beautiful authors that made me fall in love with Los Angeles. And I hope it's going to do the same for you because exploring that passion, exploring your curiosity is what really, really gets me motivated, gets me excited. So I hope this helped and I hope you're getting set for your summer reading list. Put all these LA books on there and put these LA coffee table books on your coffee table. Thank you for tuning in. If you like the show, please leave me either if you're watching on YouTube, give me a like, give me a subscribe. If you're listening on any podcast app, give me the 5-star, the rating, and a review because it really helps. And I hope you have a great summer kickoff. And I hope you're ready to read because I know I am. I can't wait to dive into my LA summer reading list. I hope you are too. All right, y'all. It's been a minute.